Hello, everyone, and welcome to Memory Cards. I'm Sam Hall, and I'm honoured to be joined today by a very special guest. He writes guides for IGN, he co hosts podcasts with Save the Game Media. His reputation suffered irreparable damage from the one and only Greg Miller from Kinda Funny Games. Some say the man has no limits. It's Sam Heaney, everybody.
Wow, that was one of the best intros for myself I've ever heard. I'm
Thank
blushing now.
you. Thank you, that's what we like to hear. Yeah, do you want to give a quick introduction to who you are, what you do?
Sure. Hi, I'm also called Sam. The inferior of the two Sams here, though, might I add. I also come from the UK. I am a trained actor by heart, but 4 years ago, on a whim, replied to a message from an IGN editor asking for freelancers, and here I am, never looking back. So since then, I've covered pretty much every massive game you can think of for IGN guides. I've branched out into voiceover, scripting for videos, game capture, those kind of things. Simultaneously, as you've said, very, very kindly, I co-host a PlayStation-centric podcast on Save the Game Media at YouTube. And yeah, I've been doing that for 2.5 years now, and it's going strong. So a lot on my plate, man, but I'm happy to carve out some time for you.
Oh, you're a busy man. I really appreciate you coming on. Yeah, Save the Game Media do great stuff. I've listened to, well, I've watched some of your shows with them.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed the A Thousand Times Resist spoiler cast you did.
Hmm.
That was actually what, for the listeners, this was actually what prompted me to message Sam and ask him to come on the podcast. Because I found that really interesting after just playing that game, and none of my friends had played it, so
Amazing.
I needed to hear from someone else who had played it. Um, I Slight spoilers for A Thousand Times Resist. I also forgave Principal, and that's all I'll say.
It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I just couldn't let it go.
I know.
Um, yeah, I'll say as well, I was going to introduce you as a spam, but I thought that might be too much of an in joke for people to get.
Yeah, that would go over most people's heads, I think. I appreciate
Yeah,
it, though. You've obviously done your research.
I have done my research. I'm also a massive Kinda Funny fan, and I didn't know that had happened with you
That was me, yeah.
until after I researched.
Yeah.
For the listeners, again, I won't go into too much detail, but Greg Miller from Kinda Funny did a very funny bit with Sam when he was listening to one of the episodes.
Yeah.
And that's all I'll say. You can look that up if you'd like.
Hmm.
Um, so before we dive into the official questions, I'll start with what I start with everyone. What are you playing at the moment, Sam?
I'm going to be a bit boring to start off with. I can't say uh, the majority of what I'm playing currently.
Tease.
Yeah, there are a lot of embargoed stuff for IGN, unfortunately. One thing I can say that I've played recently is I finally got around to the RoboCop Rogue City,
Oh, right.
which came out last year, end of 2023, something like that.
Yeah.
It's a schlocky first-person shooter. As a big fan of the original film, it's something that's sort of been on my backlog for a long time. And I don't know whether you've noticed, Sam, but this year so far has had a lot of games coming out very close to one another.
Yeah, it's been a killer year.
So I've had very, very, very little time to do anything other than work. I don't think I've actually had a full day off since January.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I found a little bit of free time over the past week or so, and I've dove into RoboCop, which I think is great fun. Nothing special, you know. It's like
Yeah.
a 7, but
Yeah.
a 7 is what you need sometimes.
Oh, it really is. Some of my favorite games are sevens.
Amen.
I had a great time with Sonic Frontiers, and that's easily a
Yeah,
7 out of 10.
covered that one for IGN. That was
Oh, did you?
interesting. Yeah.
Oh, that would have been fun to. Did you write the guide for it then for that
Yes,
one?
I did.
Oof.
I did. Dealing with
That would
that
have been
pop in,
fun.
whew,
Oh yeah, that's
rough.
crazy. Oh man. Um, are you still playing Blueprints? That's what I want to know.
So I guess technically, yes, right?
Mm,
Like I am still going back to it very, very intermittently, doing a day or two here and there, but it has fallen to the wayside for the stuff I can't talk about.
yeah.
I've rolled credits and everything, but it's a game where I won't spoil anything, but the game kind of really starts after you roll the credits.
Oh, you're so right. You're so right.
So I'm a few hours post credits, so I'm still
Mhm.
quite early, but I'm putting some puzzle pieces together. So
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely loving that game. And yeah, you're right. It doesn't start till after the credits. It's like the tutorial.
hmm
I think the first trophy I got was rolling credits. That's the one
yeah,
you get when you roll credits.
yep,
Um, yeah. Oh man, I watched the spoiler cast on that game, and it's funny how much everyone who had rolled credits was still trying to not spoil it for each other because there's so many puzzles that they hadn't solved yet.
yeah,
Um, I love that game.
fantastic.
What was your first games console?
Mm. Technically PS2. Um, I did have access to a PlayStation 1
Mhm.
that my father owned at the time. That was then handed down to me in the years since. But the first one that sort of was holistically mine, not that I bought, but that was given to me that I had was a PlayStation 2.
Yeah, that sounds right. I'm exactly the same. My family had a PlayStation 1 in the house.
Yep,
Got PS2 gifted for Christmas. I've got a video actually of when we got gifted it
amazing.
in the bright yellow box, but we had the PS2 Slim or whatever it
hmm
was. Oh yeah. What was the first game you remember playing? Was that on the PS2? Was it on the PlayStation 1?
It's interesting. As a personal aside, I have pretty patchy memory,
Mm.
especially for pre-teenage years. I almost feel like I've gaslit myself into thinking I remember things, but I actually don't really remember anything.
Yeah.
That being said, I would say that the first game that I probably did play was Crash Bandicoot. Um, but the game that I know that I have memories of is very specifically Ratchet and Clank Deadlocked on
Oh
PS2.
wow. Very nice.
Yeah,
Okay. Um, I've not actually played that one. In fact, I'd never played any of the Ratchet and Clanks until the reboot in 2016.
got to change that,
Um,
Sam. Got to change that.
yeah, I've got to change that. So how was that as a memory as far as you can convince yourself that you can remember?
I mean, I think it's specifically it's probably my favorite Ratchet and Clank game outside
Really?
of Rift Apart was great on
Mm,
PS5 a few years back, but I think Crack in Time is definitively the best Ratchet and Clank.
okay.
Deadlocked for me is, I think it's because it's essentially a spin-off, where you are Ratchet and you're in a gladiator arena and you're going up against all of these sort of named heroes throughout the galaxy and slowly
Okay.
working your way up the ranks. And it's a bit grungier, a bit grittier than the Ratchet and
Mm,
Clank games are. So I think that the fact that it was a bit more, mature, not that it's gory or anything, obviously,
yeah, yeah.
but just that it was a bit more, cutting edge. Something that I hadn't seen, especially from a kid-friendly franchise like Ratchet and Clank. I think
Yeah.
that's why it stuck with me.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. A big question now.
Mm.
What is your favorite game of all time?
Yeah, yeah. This is a bad question
It's,
to
it's
ask
a
me. This is a very bad question to ask me because I will not give you a straight answer.
Mhm.
So I'm going to give you a few. Like I know what my tops are,
Yeah.
and I'll rattle through them. So I will bring up Mass Effect, specifically Mass Effect 2,
Okay.
because I think it is one of, if not the best RPG ever made. Incredible cast of characters. I think the storylines are great. Choice and consequence is fantastic without being overwhelming. Fleshing out of the universe presented in the first game. I just think it's near perfect.
Mhm.
If it's not Mass Effect 2, I'm going to get really into the weeds now. Spartan Total Warrior on PlayStation 2. It is
Never
a
heard of it.
it is a third person sort of hack and slashy game from Creative Assembly, who do the Total War games. So it was a very different thing from them at the time. And it's a heavy nostalgia carry. For the game isn't that great.
Yeah.
But as a history nut who loved ancient Greece, ancient Rome, mythology, all of that, still do to this day, getting to experience that in a game, playing as a Spartan in giant, like large scale battles with hundreds of enemies, that's something that I still go back to with my PS2 to this day, every so often. I'm going to shout out Return of the Obra Dinn. Like,
I've still got to play that.
It's one of, I think it's the only true detective game ever made, in my opinion. And its art style and game loop are like second to none. They're completely unique, unlike anything I've ever experienced since, before or since, actually. But it comes down to two, Sam. Those are like, on any given day, I could say those answers.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not those, it's either something called The Beginner's Guide.
That's on the list.
Won't say too much about it. It lasts about an hour and a half. Quite experimental. All I'll say is that it comes from the guy that did the Stanley Parable.
Yeah.
And it blurs the line between fiction and non-fiction. And again, as like a trained actor, as a creative, as a performer myself, I think it asks a lot of very deep philosophical questions about art that really connected with me and I still think about. So I highly encourage people play that. It's not a challenging game at all. And I wouldn't look it up before you play it. You can probably get it very cheap as well. I know that that's hard to do, going in sight unseen to a game, but I think the experience is worth it. But my definitive answer, Sam, the ramble is over.
No,
this is what I usually do.
I love it.
My objective answer, and the only real true answer, you know, your first guest got it wrong. Every other guest after me, they've also going to get it wrong. That's okay. We can have wrong opinions.
We can.
The objective correct answer is Outer Wilds.
Not played it yet, so don't say too much.
I won't. It's lauded as incredibly special by many, many people.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that can set sort of seemingly unachievable expectations.
Yeah.
But I truly do believe that Outer Wilds is almost without rival the best game, full stop. I know that a lot of people won't gel with the game because it is a little bit, it does fight you a little bit at the start.
Mm-hmm.
But for those that power through that first hour of you getting used to how the ship flies and things like that, I think, I know that you will find an incredibly immersive, powerful, unique, emotional, even like it sounds cheesy, but even enlightening experience. You know, you mentioned 1000x Resist. I think Outer Wilds is similar to that in the sense that it can actually, if you allow it to, truly change the way that you think about things. And
Wicked.
That doesn't happen very often in any media, let alone video games. So, yeah, I think my favorite game of all time is and forever will be Outer Wilds.
I love that answer. I really do. Outer Wilds has been on my personal list for way too long. Because of what I'd heard about it, it was one that I wanted to. Well, it was one that I considered live streaming because I feel like that would be sort of a good one to experience or for other people to watch me experience.
Yeah.
And I think I'll gel with it. I really do because I love I love everything I've heard about it. I think the art style's the only thing I don't like 100% like click with the art style.
It's a little basic.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I'm really excited to give that a go. All-time favorite, Outer Wilds. Fantastic answer. What did you say before Outer Wilds? What was the other one you said?
Beginner's Guide.
Beginner's Guide, yes. that's been on my Steam wish list. I think it was the first game I ever wish list on Steam.
Mm,
And I've because the first game I ever played on Steam was Stanley Parable,
right.
and that was suggested, and I thought, oh, that's cool. And then I saw that not a lot of people have actually played it,
Yep.
so yeah, I'll have to look into that one as well. So
Hmm.
thanks for the recommendations, I guess.
Of course, I want to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah, I'll let you know. What game do you have the most hours in, and how many hours?
um, I think I'm going to have to give two answers
Yeah,
because I can't definitively tell. PlayStation isn't great at tracking hours, and I know I've got a lot of playtime off of console on both of these games. So it's either Terraria or FTL Faster Than Light.
FTL.
Yeah, both games I have well over 450 hours in on Steam alone. And I know that I've played Terraria on PlayStation as well, and FTL on phone and iPad and things like that over the years. So, yeah, Terraria is just fantastic as a sort of 2D Minecraft clone, if you want to boil it down to that. But I think it's much, much better than Minecraft.
Better than
And
Minecraft, really?
I would say so. Just because it's sort of Minecraft technically has like a story and a set of objectives that you can follow through, but it's more just about you building whatever you want. Terraria actually has like progression systems and like bosses. I know technically Minecraft has bosses now, but it didn't really to begin with. And it was kind of, let's be honest, Minecraft was riding the coattails of Terraria in that regard. If you know, you know. And FTL is just a fantastic real-time roguelite sort of space sim game that I just, it's one of those one more go kind of games, you know. And it's, there's something about it, man. It's just hooked me.
There's just something about it. FTL, I'd never even heard of it. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
Let me write that down. I'll put down FTL Terraria. How do you say it?
I think it's Terraria. I mean, I've heard Terraria as well, but
Okay. What is a popular game you have not played yet but want to?
that is a difficult question because naturally for my work, I end up playing most new/big popular games
True.
to cover them. But one that has slipped past me that I wasn't covering or anything is the Silent Hill 2 remake. I adore the original, and I'm not a fan of Bloober Team as a developer. I've actively hated pretty much everything they've made in the past. So I wasn't expecting a lot. And then obviously the reviews for Silent Hill 2 came out and they were glowing. So I've got it and I'm desperate to jump back in. I just need to do it once I've got a bit of free time and actually want to, be depressed, let's be honest.
Yeah. I would say wait till Halloween, but Ghost of Yotei is October.
Yeah.
So that's got to be all your time. I assume you can't say what you'll be playing, but I mean, marathons in September as well, so there's that as well.
If it doesn't get delayed, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Silent Hill remake. I've actually played it. Interesting. Just out of curiosity, do when you play a game through work, either I assume to write the guides for it, do you does it? How much does it sort of lessen the experience of playing it yourself?
I mean, it's inherently going to be a different experience, right? Because you can't just sort of turn your brain off and enjoy it and just lose yourself in the experience. You have to, and to be fair, most writers have different ways of approaching it. But I will stop and start and take notes, and I will make sure I've got gameplay footage captured, and I will then upload that, scan back through it a few times, take more notes, and that can sort of make it feel quite disjointed. I think it depends on what game I'm covering, though. So, for example, like I was one of several writers for Elden Ring when that came out. And that's a very daunting game to cover when there aren't guides to point you in the right direction.
Yeah,
or
of course.
is there a hidden wall that you have to hit 50 times to reveal in this room or not? You don't want to know how many hours I lost having to do that. Trust me.
And some things you don't know that they're gonna be impactful until hours and hours later.
Yep. But even though that was very intimidating and just due to the size of the game, it was very, very difficult to cover. Very taxing. The genius of Elden Ring in terms of its design and its gameplay loop is that even with that, there was still the ability to lose yourself in the game because you're just running around the world and you can take things at your own pace. You're not experiencing story cutscenes that you might miss something in, or whereas covering something like I did Spider-Man 2 as well. And
I bet they're quite good to do a guide for.
I mean, it was fun, don't get me wrong, but there was a twinge of sadness in me that my first experience of that game was so fragmented, where I couldn't just go straight out of a cutscene into the gameplay, where it transitions really smoothly. I had to hit pause and be like, right, what just happened? Take notes for 20 minutes, check things, then go back to it. And that's obviously not the way it's meant to be played.
No, definitely not.
But I can't complain, really. It's still a lot of fun. It's just, it does change the experience.
You can definitely complain, but
I will. I'm complaining.
I will complain. But no, that's cool. That's good to know. What is a popular game you will never play?
Pretty easy here. Any sports game ever. Just not for me. Not even slightly. I don't play sport in real life, so what makes you think I want to do it in a game? If it's not that, though, because I feel like that's a pretty generic answer, it would probably be a really, really in-depth CRPG, something like Baldur's Gate or Pillars of Eternity. It's too much. I don't like that level of player influence. I get overwhelmed. It's like, it's not for me.
Okay. It's understandable. I did feel that a bit with Baldur's Gate 3. I still ended up really enjoying it just because of the stupidness of the choices you can make. It's just fun. Still not finished it, but interesting. Good to know.
I'm also, just for context with that, I can appreciate the game's quality. It's more the fact that I am like a compulsive completionist.
Yeah.
So when there's so much to do in a game like that, I'm like, I can't start playing it because then I will have to do everything. And I just can't commit that time ever, probably.
Yeah, probably not. What game had the biggest impact on you, perhaps due to the circumstances around you as you played it?
Yes. In terms of sort of being moved and dictating my taste in experiences, the answer probably would be Outer Wilds.
Okay.
But for the sake of providing a different answer, because I do have one in my head, I think like a properly formative game for me in my youth was Resistance: Fall of Man at the launch of PS3. Insomniac first-person shooter. Again, speaking about, sort of growing up on Ratchet and Clank and things like that. To jump to Resistance was like, whoa! The people that made Ratchet and Clank did this? So not only did it open up a lot of genres for me that I was kind of averse to, whether that's FPSs, whether it's like horror adjacent games, whether it's just sort of sci-fi in general, which was a genre that I wasn't super into as a kid. It did all of that. It also made me a lifelong fan of Insomniac, well beyond my adoration for the Ratchet and Clank games.
Yeah.
And obviously now on to Spider-Man. Sunset Overdrive is another fantastic underrated one from them. And I think saying, the people that made Ratchet and Clank did this, it was the first time that I consciously acknowledged the developer behind the game.
That makes sense, yeah.
Whereas, when you're young, you're just playing games. You don't care who makes them. You don't care what box it's on. If you've got access to it, you're just going to play it. But as someone who, not at that time, but sort of looking back with rose-tinted glasses, I appreciate that something happened with me where I became far more aware of developers in the space and what they were making and what they had made and how that informed what they were making now. And I'm going to say it, like, it's not a fanboy thing, but it also did cement me, Resistance, as a PlayStation player, first and foremost. And I haven't really strayed from the ecosystem since then. Mm-hmm. And I will also say, because I'm going to speak it into existence, Sam, you're here with me, I'm going to do this. It also made me a diehard fan of Resistance. So that means that Sony is going to make a remaster or a remake collection or a sequel, resurrect the IP in any way, do something with it. So everyone's talking about Bloodborne. Who cares about Bloodborne? I do, but Resistance. Make Resistance happen.
Okay, I mean, I'm with you. I'd love to play that because I've never played a Resistance game either.
They haven't aged great.
Yeah.
Well, especially not the first game. Mm-hmm. I think the 2 and 3 hold up very well in my opinion. Really? But 1 is a bit rough. The controls it's bad. You have to click in R3 to aim down sights. It's like, ooh.
Oh, that's not great.
No.
I guess I could play Resistance 3 on PS Plus Premium.
You can, yes.
I hear they took 2 off, didn't they?
It was a whole thing, Sam. It breaks my heart. They were there for 6 months and then they took them off. I don't get it.
That's a silly choice. What is your hot take game? The game which you disagree the most with its critical reception?
Uh-oh.
Yeah. You don't have to be negative. You could be positive. But
I'm going to be negative, I'm afraid.
Do it.
Horrifically so. Halo. Just in general.
Okay.
I think it's horrifically overrated. Just in general. Every single one. Mm-hmm. I think I can acknowledge and I will relent that Combat Evolved through Halo 3 had really strong campaigns and good multiplayers. And I do really like Reach and ODST as spin-offs. But I think as an IP, it hasn't really changed all that much since its inception. I think people
would agree with you there.
And it's just, I feel like it's just continually trying to chase the high that those early games had, and it's getting worse each time. And I think it's very stale. And I think that basically anything else in the first-person shooter genre is being more innovative, more creative, more interesting, doing more exciting things presentationally, narratively, like however you want to put it. I get that 343 as a developer has kind of had a bit of a rough go. But I would much prefer that they kind of just kill Halo. Or at least put it on ice. Let that team do a brand new IP, unburdened by expectations or legacy or whatever. Do that. Then several years later, have people actually miss Halo.
Yeah.
And then you can come back with a fresh pair of eyes, new dev team, new developers on the team. Whereas right now, I think, going from 4 to 5 and then Infinite and then God knows whatever comes next. I feel like it's just kind of dragging Halo through the mud a little bit, and I don't think it has the power that it had before, and that's sad.
Yeah, I hear you. I think you're right that they're sort of chasing the memory that people have of the IP rather than going, let's create a really cool story.
Amen.
That works with the characters we've got, and yeah, I'm so with you. Halo sucks, everybody.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. What upcoming game are you most looking forward to playing?
I'm gonna be annoying, Sam. I'm sorry,
Go on.
but I'm gonna say two
Hmm.
because one is very imminent, so I don't quite feel like that counts.
Yeah,
The imminent one is Death Stranding 2.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
I have been on record for several years at this point saying that I think Death Stranding 1 is probably the riskiest AAA game that has ever existed.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that Sony and Kojima like agreed to make this happen, to fund it, let alone give it a sequel.
Hmm.
And I also just think like the story and the gameplay loop, as much as it gets clowned on for being a delivery simulator, I think that if you're actually playing it and you allow the sort of over the top Kojima-ness of the game
Hmm.
to just wash over you, I think it's a really incredible experience. I recently went back and platinumed it because that was the one. I'm a big platinum guy.
Yeah.
Uh,
How many platinums?
so I'm currently on 348.
Holy.
So I'm trying to tick up to 349 so that I can then make Death Stranding 2 my 350th.
Oh, that would be wicked.
Yeah, so I always try and make like the 50th or the 100th platinum
A big
something
one.
special to me. And I can't wait for Death Stranding 2. Everything I've seen of it looks absolutely amazing. So
Yeah.
that's the imminent one.
Before we move on from that, I want to
Yes.
say I also finished Death Stranding 1 for the first time just a few weeks ago.
Mm,
And it was a weird experience because when I first played it, I played maybe, I thought I'd played more, but I probably only played about a quarter to a half of the game.
sure.
Um, and then so I think it was about half. And then when I went back to it, I ended up actually really enjoying it, the second half. And the last sort of story section of that game, I remember messaging my boss saying, he's into games as well, saying, "Oh, I'm just about to go into the last mission of Death Stranding." Turns out I was like 5 chapters away from the end. Just the way it had like presented itself, I was
Yep.
so sure it was like the final mission.
Yep.
But no, that last stretch of story just unravels so well,
Hmm.
and I'd convinced myself that I didn't like the story when I was playing it about halfway through, and then by the end I did. I thought it was great. Really excited for the second one.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
A
But yeah,
man of
go on.
taste.
Thank you. Yeah, what's the other one you're most looking forward to?
Yeah, another PlayStation centric one, unfortunately. Oh, big surprise.
It's
A
all right.
PlayStation guy.
We're all PlayStation over here.
Yeah, I mean everything's a PlayStation now, right? Even Xbox, so I hear. The other one is Saros from Housemarque,
Oh yeah, that's good.
which I think is kind of a wild card, dark horse answer. You know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I can't wait to see what God of War does next," or "I
Mm,
can't wait for Spider-Man 3 or Wolverine," or "I can't wait for Intergalactic from Naughty Dog. That's going to be
mm,
amazing," and I'm sure they are.
yeah.
But I believe, I feel like I've said this on content before. If not, this is breaking news exclusive. I truly think that Returnal is the best game of this generation thus
Mm,
far. And I say that with my full chest. And I think that it was very clearly a really big level up for Housemarque as a studio. But for them to take how pitch perfect the gameplay of Returnal was and just make a better, more refined version of it,
mhm.
like that sounds like heaven to me.
That does sound pretty good, actually.
So, like, sure, sign me up. It's Returnal 2 in all but name. And that is, I hope it's going to take a lot of people by surprise,
Yeah.
because I feel like Returnal is often overlooked and that is criminal.
It is often overlooked. I think it sort of it was sort of a double-edged sword where it came out right at the start of the PS5 life cycle. So like not enough people played it, but then also everyone who did have a PS5, everyone played it if they
Mm.
had a PS5. Um, so it's sort of, got pros and cons from that. But you're right. It was great. I wasn't as hot on it as everyone else, but it was great. And you're right that there's so much they could do if they just sort of refine that experience.
Yep.
Um, okay, I think there was small nitpicks I had with that first game, especially with like the checkpointing
Yep.
system. It was just too punishing. Maybe I was just bad, but it just
Get
felt
good,
too
Sam.
punishing. Yeah, get good. It was too punishing for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really excited for that. Rahul Kohli as well is the lead in it.
Come on.
He's amazing. So yeah, that should be great. Great answer. I'll put that then. I'll put Saros. Saros. Don't know how to pronounce that. Oh well.
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Who knows what it means?
Who knows? Yeah.
We'll find out.
Who knows? Yeah. What do you think it does mean? Maybe it's the place that he's on.
That would be, yeah, maybe it is the name of the planet. That would make sense. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. What is your memory card game? So if you could wipe a game from your memory and experience playing it for the first time again, what game would you choose? You can say an answer you've already said if you need
I could
to.
say it. And like realistically, I probably would say it. I probably would say Outer Wilds.
I thought.
But my actual answer, and I'm not doing this just for the sake of something different. I actually mean this more. I'm going to say The Last of Us Part 2. The reason I say that
my own heart
is, unfortunately, I probably alongside a lot of people got spoiled on several things prior to launch due to all of the leaks and social media. And for the record, I adore The Last of Us Part 2. I truly love it. Everything about it. I understand it's contentious, but I think it is fantastic. I think it's Naughty Dog's best game.
Yeah.
But to be able to wipe all of that from my mind and to be able to actually experience the game, not only the way that Naughty Dog intended it, but removed from any preconceived notions or ideas or what I'm expecting. I really am like kind of sad that I'm never going to get to experience that.
Yeah.
And so if I could, I think, wipe my mind of any game and all the context around it, it would be Last of Us Part 2.
That's such a good answer. And I'd never thought about that question like that because I obviously am clearly a big fan of The Last of Us Part 2. And I also had it spoiled for me. I remember I can't remember how soon to launch it was. It wasn't long. It was like a month maybe, or
a month and a half, something like that.
A month and a half, few months, where it was spoiled and I didn't know what was going on, but I knew a lot of people weren't happy. And I like the naive young boy I was, put a tweet out on the internet asking, I think it said something like, "No spoilers, please."
Oh dear.
But what? But why is everyone so angry? Why is everyone so angry about The Last of Us Part 2? And it only took one person to see that and spoil it for me. They actually also had some fake spoilers in there as well. I don't know if you remember those going around. There was a lot of fake spoilers in there. And I remember, and I was so annoyed at this person, and I was like, I know I did ask why everyone was angry, fair enough. But I was so annoyed at this person, and luckily enough, the game was still incredible.
Yes,
and it is Naughty Dog's best game, and just the basic concept of it, the structure of it is just so good, and I love it because it can really only be told as a video game.
Yep.
I was talking to my sister about this. She's been watching the series with me, and she hasn't played the games and doesn't know the story. And I just don't think it translates as well because you don't get that same experience. I won't go into too much spoilers because there's probably other fans of the show listening. But yeah, great answer.
Thank you.
Part 2. Yeah. And now the final question. I can't remember if I actually told you this question or not.
You did.
I did. What is one game you think that everyone should play? The game you answer with will be placed into the Hall of Games for future generations as well as future content for this podcast.
So I have a question for you, Sam,
Oh,
before I
okay.
answer.
Yeah.
With your Hall of Games you're assembling,
Yeah.
are you leaving it open? Not that this is going to change my answer. Are you leaving it open so that there can be duplicate entries? Or are you going to present the list as it builds up to your future guests, and then they can make an informed choice around what they'd like to submit?
You know what? That's a great that's a great idea for a start. I will list all the previous entries to you right now.
I know what they are. I know what
Age
they
of
are.
Empires 1
Yes.
is
What
the
a
only
banger.
title. Absolute banger. 10 out of 10 game.
That is,
Everyone can
you know,
agree.
when you think about best game ever, what everyone should play, that is the first thing that comes to my mind. Whatever floats your boat, you know. I'm only joking.
No, there's no wrong answers, and you know
There
what?
is no wrong answer.
It's a funny first answer, and I love it. But yeah, you have to give a unique answer.
Okay, that's good to know.
So you can't say Age of Empires 1, I'm afraid.
That's good to know. Well, I don't have any answer to give you then, I'm afraid, because I hate to tell you, but Age of Empires is really my jam.
Oh, yeah.
So stick with me. I could and probably should say Outer Wilds. I probably should say that, because I really do believe it. I think everybody on the planet will benefit from experiencing it, even if it's just a portion of the game, even if you don't finish it and don't gel with it. I think experiencing it and seeing what it does can really open your eyes in terms of game design, how games tell stories, player agency, all of that stuff. But I do feel that Outer Wilds it does have a higher likelihood of being included as somebody else's submission in the future. So I'm going to hand off the pleasure of proclaiming Outer Wilds to the Hall of Games to a future guest. Whoever you are, you're welcome.
Yeah. Pass the torch.
So I am going to go for something that, if I don't say it, I fear might go under the radar and not be picked by anybody else. We've already brought it up on this recording.
Say it.
I'm going to say 1000 times resist.
Yes! My guy. I'm so happy you said that.
It's
Go on.
a very recent game, obviously, for people who don't know. Came out towards the end of last year. Really took me by surprise. It wasn't even slightly on my radar. And I just heard some people that I really trust the opinion of saying that, like, you really need to try this.
Eric Courtney.
Yeah, he was one of them.
Yeah.
And I jumped in, and I mean, it's a narrative adventure. It's primarily a walking sim, which I know is like a turnoff for a lot of people when you say that. It's a lot of just standing around and listening to dialogue at the end of the day. But I like media in general that challenges me, that makes me feel uncomfortable, that makes me think about things, that can change my perspective on stuff. So Outer Wilds fits into that very nicely. Last of Us Part 2 fits into that very nicely. And 1000 Times Resist fits into that very nicely. I think despite the constraints of how basic, in air quotes, a game it is, what they do in terms of presentation, in terms of style, art direction, performance, music,
Yes.
I think it's perhaps the most theatrical game I've ever played.
There's a very good reason for that as well.
Because it's a dev team of primarily theatre performers who wanted to turn their play into a game during the pandemic, because of course they couldn't do live theatre. And I think that shows in the game. it looks like a stage play, and I don't mean that in a demeaning sense at all. I think for the first game from a small studio, it's incredibly ambitious in terms of what it's trying to do and what it's trying to say. And you look at something this year, I don't know whether you've played it, but you've almost certainly heard about it, Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
I'm playing it currently, yeah.
Another game, first-time developer, very small studio, but they are doing something really unique, really interesting. They had something they wanted to say, and they're saying it with their full chest.
Yep.
And 1000 Times Resist, I think, has some of the most emotional and intellectually compelling and impactful content that I've probably ever experienced. I think at a time, I mean, you clearly love the game as well, so I'll hand it over to you. But I think that at a time in the world, the real world, where there is, like, as we speak this very second, so much division, discontent, hate crimes, xenophobia, mental health crises, wars in different regions of the globe, fear-mongering, fake news, riots, protests, all of these things. It weighs on you.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that it can't. And 1000 Times Resist is a game that manages to tackle all of those things and so much more in such an expert fashion, in my opinion, that I just don't know how they did it.
It's so good. I almost don't want to say too much about it for people who haven't played it, but all I'll say is, everything you said is 100% right. It was my favourite game last year, which I wasn't expecting, because before that, my favourite game that I played last year was Animal Well. I really, really dug
My
Animal
guy,
Well.
we're the same person. Not only do we have the same name, we have the same taste.
Two Sams with the same taste in games. But no, it came out of nowhere, and I played it right at the end of last year as well. I think it only released in like
November, I think,
October, anyway,
or late October, something like that.
Yeah, so I actually didn't finish it until January, but that game being what it is, with its so simplistic visual novel style gameplay, but what it does with like time, and I don't want to spoil too much, so I'm gonna stop talking. But all I'll say is, even if you separate it from the real world applications you could take from it, it's an awesome sci-fi story. Like, it's an absolutely, it's fun, it's fast paced. But as well as that, the real world applications you can take from that, and it just makes you like question your values in life. And that's all I'll say, because I will spoil if I keep talking. Absolutely incredible choice, and I'm very glad you've said that.
I had to put the stamp on it, because otherwise no one's going to mention it, and that's criminal.
Yeah, you are right. No one's going to mention it, because not enough people played that game.
Yep.
And Sunset Visitor, is that what they're called?
That's it.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing. I've just ordered, just last week I ordered a vinyl for 1000 Times. You haven't ordered it as well?
I have, mate. I have done that. Yeah.
No way. That's crazy. Which
variant did you get? Though?
I think there was only one.
Okay.
No, there were two, but I needed the one with I wanted the one with the Principal on it.
Of course.
Yeah, so I got the Principal, Fixer, and Watcher. Is that?
I think that's right. Yeah.
And then the other one was Bang Bang Fire, Healer, and Noah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. But I did like the look of both of them, and I was so tempted to get both.
I know.
It's I don't even have a record player.
I do, and it will be playing, I assure you.
Oh, I am gonna get one just to play that, because the music in that is amazing, and it's not on Spotify. I've been listening to it on YouTube for the past 6 months.
Another criminal thing,
Another
get it on Spotify.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they just don't pay enough, but it needs to be somewhere. They need to put it somewhere other than YouTube. I
I'll take
agree.
SoundCloud. Just do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Um, yeah, 1000xResistance. Yeah, I could talk about that forever. Yeah, I hope Sunset Visitor get the chance and want to do more games because
Mm,
I'd love to see what else they do. I'd understand if they don't, if they want to continue. I assume they're going to continue doing theatre stuff as well.
yeah.
Um, yeah, excellent, excellent answer. Thank you for that one. Um, and I'm afraid that that's all the questions I've got for you, Sam.
No.
I know it's been really fun. Thanks for coming on and giving me your time.
Of course.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Who knows? Maybe in the future, if I think of another set of questions, I can invite you on again and ask you some more stuff.
Absolutely.
Um, and before you go, one final question on behalf of all the listeners: where can they find you?
In a number of places, you can find my work at IGN.com. You can find me on pretty much any social media at Sam Heaney. That's Heaney. And you can find me at Save the Game Media on YouTube, where I host No Limits to PlayStation podcast.
Yeah. You heard him, folks. Go check out Save the Game Media and all their many podcasts and shows. They're really excellent.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful week, everybody, and I'll see you next time on Memory Cards. Bye bye.